AYTPC, Doug Michigan E. Piper here, and I'm excited to come to you with the first video of, or first installment of The Old Ways. And today we're going to be talking about Flint and Steel. Before we do that, though, we're going to be doing some housekeeping. I'm smoking in my Dr. Graybo freehand some Colt Blood Red Moon, which has grown on me lately, so I am enjoying that. And out in the barn today, the weather is pretty windy, so if you happen to hear noises and stuff, it's probably the wind bouncing off the barn and shaking the sheet metal. But I want to talk to you about Flint and Steel today. First, I'm going to talk about what Flint and Steel is not. Flint and Steel is not what a lot of people think is this. This is a ferro rod. This came out in about 1903. Ferro is short for ferrocerium rod. And this is the same material that you have in your Zippo lighters and your Bic lighters. It's just a easily oxidizing material. So if you were to take, this is just a piece of steel, not necessarily it's steel, but it's sharp, and scrape it, you get about 3,000 degree sparks. So they work great for starting fires, but historically speaking, a lot of guys I know that are outdoor guys, you know, they think this is the bomb, but it really is not correct for the period. But they do work well, especially for the guys that don't care about the period. They just want to make it a little bit more difficult, I guess, in the bushcraft realm. But we're not talking about bushcraft today. We're talking about the old ways. So, sorry, here comes a wind. When it comes to Flint and Steel, back in the 1800s, usually every house had something that looked like this, which was their Flint and Steel kit. This is an old Altoids tin. Altoids tins are awesome for Flint and Steel kits. And the way we do this, you've got three different things in your Flint and Steel kit. You have your flint, obviously, your steel, and your char, which we'll talk about. So your flint is, flint rock compared to regular rock is a lot harder. If you hear it, it kind of rings almost like glass when you hit it. The characteristics of flint that make it usable is it's very hard and it breaks off in flakes, which makes it very sharp, which is, you know, why they used them for knives long ago. So the flint isn't native to Michigan where I'm at, which is funny because there's a Flint, Michigan. Go figure. Flint, actually the best flint is found in Europe from what I understand. I did get some of this stuff from Texas, so I believe they have some down there, and I'm sure somebody else has more knowledge on where to get your flint. I just ordered some online. It's dirt cheap. You feel kind of dumb because you're ordering a box of rocks, but you can get them. It lasts you forever. But that's the first part, is your flint. The second part is your steel. Now, this is a section of an old bastard file. The reason is because the bastard files are very high in carbon, and that's what you need. You need steel that's high in carbon. And so high carbon steel, bastard files work well. Basically, you take it, you throw it in the vise, and you take a hammer and you smack it, and it's so brittle it just snaps. And you can get a piece that works for you. Once you've done that, you need to grind down one side. As you can see, that side's kind of shiny. And so that's what I use. Now, back in the day, they had all kinds of different kinds of hydrocarbon steel. So there are strikers. I don't have a striker. I really don't need to buy one, but a striker basically is just kind of a C-looking piece of material that you would, of high carbon steel that you would put your fingers through, and you could strike down like this. And that's what you saw a lot of back in the day. So, but for today's purposes, we're just going to use the file. And then the third part is your char. Now, a lot of Flint and Steel users nowadays, you will see, use what's called char cloth. And char cloth is just a piece of 100% cotton, that's the key, that has been cooked down to just the carbon. And what that does is it catches the spark. So when you watch the movies and they take the Flint and Steel and and all of a sudden the fire pops up, that doesn't happen. That's not real. You need something to catch that spark. and then once you've caught the spark, you can throw it in what's called a bird's nest, which you can actually use a real bird's nest, or you can make something out of rope or dead grass or whatever. It's high fibrous, lots of surface area that you can lay this once it's lit in the middle of, fold it lightly over, blow into it, and it bursts into flames eventually, if you do it right and it's dry enough. Now, I said that most guys today who are using Flint and Steel use Char Cloth. When it comes to the old ways, they didn't use this as often. The reason being was cotton was kind of a high commodity. You know, it wasn't something that you could just burn up all the time. They didn't have, Walmart around the corner. They didn't have just rags full or buckets full of rags like we do nowadays. So what they would use is punk wood, and punk wood is, if you've ever been walking through the woods or in your yard, wherever, and you see a rotten piece of wood that's kind of falling apart, and you pick up a piece of it and you squeeze it and it's soft, it's really porous, that's punk wood. Punk wood you cook down the exact same way, and it'll turn into char, and it'll catch a spark just as well. And that's what they used in most households back in the day, because it was cheap, it was readily available. You just walk out in the woods and you grab it. Now, the way they cooked them down was fairly simple. And guys, this is a lot of detail that I'm giving you here, and I'm going through it kind of fast because I don't want this to be an hour-long video. This is actually could be an hour or 2 hour class. So it's just like pipe smoking. There's a lot of variables in using a flint and steel. I'm giving you the basics today. If you have more questions, feel free. I think my email's on my site, so if you want to go there and email me, I can fill you in however you like, or just Google it on YouTube. I mean, or YouTube, but there's a ton of videos out there. But they would take a tin like this. You put your cotton or your punk wood in there. You close it up, punch a tiny hole in it like a nail. Take a nail and puncture or whatever, and then cook it. When the smoke stops coming out, that means that all the impurities have come out. You pull it off the fire, you let it cool. That's the key. If you don't let it cool and you open it up, it's just going to burn up. You let it cool. When you open it up, you'll have the black, whether it's the char cloth or the charred wood, left over. And then you have that for the next time you use it. Now, if you're using charred wood in your kit, when you're starting your sparks, you can take that piece that caught, like if you get 2 or 3 pieces that caught, take one out, you close the tin up, and you can save the rest so you don't have to burn up all your wood every time you use it. Just a way to make it last. But they were a lot better about saving stuff like that than we are today. Now, the key to starting it is, and I'm going to put a link, I hope, down in the bucket. There's an article, short article, but of a guy talking from the 1800s about how it was not uncommon in the morning to hear the maid start hitting a flint and steel and starting the fire. Now, there is a technique to it, and it's like riding a bike. At first, it's kind of hard to get, but then once you're done, it's easy to go back to. The idea here is that you're shaving off pieces of steel. That's why we need a hard, sharp rock. The rock or the flint is actually harder than the steel. What happens is, as that steel, the particles of steel are coming off, they're superheated from the friction, and then obviously you see that spark. So what we do is we lay our char cloth on the side of our flint like that. I've got my steel in the other hand. Now, a lot of guys, they start out, they're doing this. They're just banging them together, hoping they'll get a spark. The idea is you strike and carve at the same time. So as I'm doing it, you see the sparks coming off there, right? So I just hold that char cloth as close as I can until it catches like that, okay? So then I set these back down. Now, if you notice, that's slow burning, right? It's actually not burning, it's smoldering, right? But as you blow on it, it heats up, okay? Now, if I wanted to, as I'm going, I can tear the other part off, save that, and keep this part to start my fire. So we're going to put that down. As you get good at it, if you like that and you want to carry some with you, you can take a small Altoid skin. I think they're called Altoid Smalls. Yep, Altoid Smalls. And get a smaller Basterfile section along with a smaller piece of flint. And this one I have, and every once in a while I'll carry these with me just for the fun of it. I've got a piece of char cloth in there. I've got my flint, and I've got my steel in there from my bastard file, and I also have a section of unburnt jean, from your pants, if I want to make some more out on the road. And then what I do is I take, and this is not period correct, along with the Altoids tin, piece of inner tube from a tire. You put that over the top of it, and that keeps it closed. If you throw it in a pocket or bag or something, it keeps it closed. So that's like my travel flint and steel. Now, gone over the flint and steel awful fast. Like I said, there's more details to it than that, but that's the gist. That's almost like saying, here's what you have. You have your tobacco and your pipe and your tamper, and and you go through that, but you don't really tell them about what flakes are and the briars versus meerschaum and all that. So speaking of it, my pipe's probably gone out by now. But that's it in a nutshell. This is not, actually I should talk about one of the things that's not. Flint and steel is not for just outside fires, right? Because a lot of guys in bushcraft like I am, they think that's all it's for. They had to light fires inside too. So this was something that was very, very important back in the day. They didn't have lighters. They had a version of the match, which I'll talk about in a second, but they really didn't have the accessibility that we have today to different types of ignition sources. So guys, that's what I have for today. I'm going to go ahead and light this up one more time. There we go, back in business. So that's what I have for today. I will tell you though that we really didn't talk about lighting your pipe, right? As far as the old ways go, well, that's the next video. We'll talk about making spunk matches. So until then, guys, I hope you all are doing well. Until next time, you take care.